Buenos dias, classe. It's Mrs. Davis, and we're getting ready to do another art project. Last time we did this project here, which taught us about glazing, and it taught us about value, and it taught us about layering different layers of paint to create the glazing. This time we're going to take this one step further, and we're going to do this really cool boat here. I love this boat because the way the water just shimmers down here, I can feel the motion there. Here's the project we're going to do. We're going to make a slightly smaller version of it. So the paper that you'll find in your kit will be this size right here. And we're going to draw the sketch first. However, the first thing we do is always the same. We pick up our pencil and write our name. And that will be the back of your paper, and turn it over, and that will be the front. Okay, the sketch that you got in your kit is just kind of a general sketch. You don't have to worry about making yours exactly the same as mine. We'll start out with some reference dots so that you'll know where to go on each of these areas here. And then you might want to get a ruler or some kind of a straight edge that you might have laying around the house that you could do for your straight lines. Okay, here we go. Now you can tell that when I copied this was the edge of the paper here. So you'll want your rope to come all the way to the edge here. So let's go ahead and start out by putting a reference dot right there where your rope is going to be. Then come up a ways for the top of the bow of your boat. Then come down here a ways. Oh, I'd say about maybe this far from the edge over here, and down a little bit from there to put a reference dot for the top of the stern of your boat right here. And come out at about the same angle, put a dot here. And just to make it easier, let's go ahead and put a reference dot down a ways from the arc going along here. So you're very lightly going to sketch like that. We have a nice gentle arc here going into almost a straight line. I don't want you to use a ruler on this because I don't want it to be too rigid. Now coming down from here a ways, about that far, now this is the back side of the boat, and now we're going to draw the front side of the boat, still sketching very lightly, very gently, and keep in mind you can always pause these videos take the time that you need for each step. Now the back of our boat here, and at this point I'm going to go ahead and erase or at least soften my reference dots. I made them pretty dark so you could see them in the video, but yours don't need to be this dark. We don't want those to show through our painting. Okay, that's the top of the boat. Now we're going to do the back and the front like this. So just kind of come down with not really a straight line, but just a gentle arc there, about that far. And on the front, we need to go across pretty level because water is level to about here. And then for the front, we'll make a nice gentle arc like this. And then across here, we don't want that straight because our boat's not sitting on top of a piece of glass, it's floating in the water. And you can't really see it in your sketch very well, but just kind of make a gently wavy line that might look like it might be the water kind of lapping up on the boat. Inside of our boat, we're going to have a piece of reinforced wood along here and on here. And then we'll have two boards coming down the side like that. So the best way to do that is to just go ahead and make a sketch parallel. Maybe a little hard for you to see because my sketchy lines have kind of gotten in the way. But your sketching is just a guideline for your paintbrush. This is not a finished drawing by any stretch. And then the back here. And then we've got about here, two boards coming straight down like that. Keep looking back at your sample. Okay, the boat is largely finished now. We're going to save the rope until last. So now we've got the dock up above. So about where this reinforcement board here is, but not lined up with it, we don't want to make a merger here. You're going to start from back here And make sure that your ruler or your straight edge is parallel with the edge of the paper so it doesn't look like your boat's going to fall off the page. Start at the top of your boat and gently, don't push too hard with your pencil, draw a line straight up like that. And then go out, let me look here at my sample, about 1 3/4 inches, or the distance between the tip of your finger and the back of your knuckle. About this far, a little reference dot there, and then you're going to draw another. Now, once again, make sure your ruler is not kittywampus like that, but nice and straight, parallel with the edges of your paper. Nice gentle line down because we're going to be erasing part of this. And looking back at your sample here, what we've done is this line right here. Now we're going to do the rest of the dock here and here. So there's a little tiny space between the 4x4s that hold the dock up. There's the space. Now we're going to make this board here coming straight down like that. And on the other side of this space, this is the negative space here between the 4x4s, we're going to make another one just like that. So when you get to that point, then we're ready to make the part of the dock that you actually walk on. So going up about 1 inch or a little bit less, we're going to draw from here. This is like a bait shop or something here. This is a solid wall. We're going to draw from here out and go past here just a little bit. And then make another parallel line above that, about the same thickness as your boards up there. Coming out. It's a little thinner. Now don't worry too much about this edge. We want it to be kind of rough, so don't make a nice straight line there because there's been a lot of wear. There's been a lot of people come up and get up onto this dock here, and little chunks of wood have fallen off. So we want that to be evident. So it gives the painting more life. Now, next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to make this crossbar here, which stabilizes the dock. So with all the water movement, this is going to hold it in place. Okay, there's most of our dock finished. However, like in our last painting, this isn't a transparent dock, so we've got to erase all of the lines in here so it looks more opaque. And you don't have to be too precise with your erasing. Just get most of it gone so it starts looking like a dock to you. Okay, now comes the fun part. Now we are going to do the reflection of the boat in the water and the reflection of the dock in the water. Remember I was talking about how the water has movement? This is cool. So coming out a ways, it's like the light is coming almost straight on. So we've got the boat, we've got just a little wavy line. Now make sure that you keep your lines pretty horizontal. You don't want to have a line coming down like that because that's not the way that the light would reflect in the water. And don't be too worried about it, just something kind of like this. And go up about that far with this. Then we're going to go kind of parallel to this over here. Then make another little, just a little place where the water has reflected into the boat's reflecting in the water. Okay, now we're going to make the edge of this dock here and then these two 4x4s. This part here is hidden behind the boat, so that's not going to show in our reflection. Okay, kind of get your pencil lined up and do just kind of a little wavy line coming down here. Don't get too crazy with your wavy line. We don't want to have a tsunami here. Just gently wiggling water, because there's other boaters out there that are pushing the water around, and there's people swimming and fishing all over the place. Now the last one we're going to do is this one here, just kind of a wavy line here. Okay, and at this point our drawing is finished, so we're going to start painting. Oh no, it's not finished. We've got to do the rope. So we have one piece of rope coming down like this, and another piece coming like this, and then it goes clear off the page. Now this right here, you can draw two parallel lines if you wish, or you could just leave it like that and paint over it, because we're going to put at least 3 layers on the rope because it's the darkest part of it. The rest of it is just 2 steps. We'll paint, this back here will remain white. We'll paint the bait shop, we'll paint the dock, we'll paint the entire boat except for this part in here and the reflection in layer 1. Layer 2, we'll come back and do the darkness here, and then layer 3 will be the rope, making it nice and dark so it stands out. Remember the contrast rule. It's always something very important at art. What makes a work of art fun to look at and fun to do is contrast, lots of other elements, but contrast is one of the big ones. That's one thing that appeals to me about this particular painting is the contrast. Okay, let's get going. Get your paintbrush, make sure it's good and clean, and also make sure that you always remember to lay your paintbrush on your paper towel. You're going to put some water in your blue. Remember, we're just laying water in there. We're not stirring. We should have done that before we started drawing. Okay, the first layer is going to be the bait shop. Oh, careful you don't rip like that. Be very careful as you're going up the edge here. If you go a little over your line, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Okay, go ahead and go all the way over your rope here. And try not to get this layer too dark. And if I was going to build a bait shop, I'd be building it with boards probably going horizontally. So once you get your line here, make most of your strokes horizontal. And as in the last project, you need to do it relatively quickly, because the watercolor tends to dry really fast. You paint around your boat. Now we'll do parts of the boat, but not just yet. Down into the corner here. Okay, go back and get some more water, some more paint. Very gently, try not to drip. And you're going to do the boat, the front edge of the boat, but not the inside. That's the light is reflecting on the inside of the boat. You don't have to be too precise here. I'm getting a few drops here and there, but we can just pretend that they're little splashes of water. Come out to the edge of your boat, to the back here, and then right along the back here. Trying to keep most of our strokes horizontal. And out to the edge here. Make sure you didn't make your water too crazy or it gets kind of tricky to paint. But we're painting over all of this right here. All the way down. Down to the edge here. And you should be able to see your sketch through here so we know where to go for layer 2. Okay, this is a little bit tricky. You don't want quite as much paint in your brush, so you can kind of daub it along your paper towel to do these, because you need to be a little bit more precise with these. Okay, doing your 4x4s. Go ahead and put your hand down on the paper so that you're in control of your brush. A lot of you will find that when you pull a brush towards you, you have a little bit more control. When I'm turned around this way, I'm still pulling it. I'm not pushing it. If you push your brush, it's very difficult to control it. And you want these to be about the same value. So I've gone over to my first pillar here and picked up a little bit of paint and taken it to the second one. And then along our dock, you probably don't need to go back and get much more paint. This paint goes a long ways, because we don't want our first layer to be too dark. And then on down here to the boat. Try and cover up your pencil marks so they virtually disappear, except for the ones that we need to use for layers 2 and 3. And our little angled piece here. And let's finish up down here. This has gotten a little bit dry, so I'm going to moisten it some and move that paint around before I go back and get more. And nice wiggly water down here. Kind of handy that my hand is kind of wiggling anyway. So that works out nicely. Keeping your strokes for most of this project horizontal, because the water lays on the earth horizontally, except these guys now are going to be pretty much vertical. Have fun going in and out of your little squigglies that you made. You don't have to be too precise with this, because the effect is going to be lovely. I'm going to go back and get more paint, but my paint's getting really soft now, so I need to make sure that I don't have it too dark. So you can get more water on your brush, and then if you have too much paint there, you can just kind of push it around with the water. There we go. Kind of reinforce our horizontal stroke deal going on. Okay, now we're going to do the inside of the boat, and you'll need to use the tip of your brush, but you don't want it too dark. We're going to just go along here, straight up like that on that board, and that board, and this board, right down to the corner, and then this guy all the way across the top. Okay, layer 1 is complete. I'm going to use a hair dryer to dry this, or you can pause the video. This part over here is already dry. You can pause the video if you want to. Well, that was quick. This dries very, very quickly. And I have to retrieve my materials because the hairdryer blew everything everywhere. Okay, now looking back at our sample, which was actually done with an ultramarine blue, you can probably see the difference. We're going to do layer 2, which is going to be the side of the boat, the shadow the boat makes, and I just realized I forgot to have you draw the back of the boat. So take your pencil and draw a vertical line right there for the back of your boat, and let's go ahead and put a layer 1 on the back of your boat here, because that'll get painted again as we do layer 2. Okay, that's all melding together, but as we do layer 2, that will show out more. Okay, layer 2. Get your brush nice and wet. You may need to put more water in your paint kit here. Let that moisten up a little bit. So we're doing only the front of the boat. Kind of got get your brush into a point. You can just put it on the table and, like I've shown you before, to twist and pull, and that'll give you a little bit of a point. Following along, just barely go over your pencil lines so they get hidden just a little bit. And remember not to push too hard with your brush. If you do, layer 2 will dissolve layer 1, and then you won't have much contrast there. And we all know how important contrast is. So coming out where my little lines are for my wiggly water, a little bit more paint. The light may be glaring on this. I noticed that with the last video, so I've got, my lighting is a little bit different today. And hopefully you'll be able to see a little bit better. I brought one of my photography lights from home, and it's really putting a lot of nice light on here, but we may, with this watercolor, still have a little bit of a glare. I'm learning as I'm going along here, guys. Okay, go ahead and make sure you do the whole side of your boat. And we may have to do a little bit more right here because that got kind of washed out. But I'll wait until it dries to make that determination. Oh, that's nice and dark there. Going right along the edge here. And down this way. And down in the back chunk of our wiggly water. And it doesn't matter, you need to keep your strokes pretty much horizontal, because like I told you, that's the way God put the water on the earth, is in a horizontal way with gravity holding it down. So I'm adding just a little bit more here. Okay, I think we are finished with the main part of layer 2. Now we're going to put a second layer on our rope here. Once again, take your brush and twist and pull. Get a nice point on that, even if you've got a relatively big brush. Remember how we did a dabbing on the chimney on that other painting? We're going to do the same concept here. Just barely dab along here. I'm making little dots is what I'm doing, and then the dots are running together. A rope is kind of rough anyway, so we don't want a heavily straight line. Now we'll let that dry, and we may need to put another layer on that. We'll just have to see. Okay, back to the hairdryer. Be sure you lay your brush down so he can take a nice nap there. And we are finished. I don't believe I'm going to need to add any layers because we have some contrast between this layer and this one. If you don't have a big value difference between here and here, you can go ahead and put a third layer on this area here if you wish. That is totally up to you. Down here it looks like it almost needs it. Maybe I'll put a little bit there. If I can get some water in my paint here. There we go. Just a little bit down here to kind of daub it on there. I'm not really brushing, I'm just kind of daubing because we don't want to wash off the layer below. There we go. That when that dries, I think that'll be a little bit more evenly coated and a little bit more contrast. One thing that's cool about watercolor is if you get more than you want somewhere, you can always just dry your brush out. And say you didn't like this area here, it's too dark, you can just kind of, while the paint's still wet, just kind of lift it out. Okay, we are finished. I've even got some water splashing up on mine. Okay, this is the end of video number 2. God bless you, stay inspired, and keep making art.